Hi, it's Eric, speaking to you from inside an aluminum can, apparently. Either that or this mic is terrible. Don't buy a Yeti. Don't do it. Anyway, welcome to our Ask a Drunk Libertarian show. This one needs a little preamble. First of all, none of us are libertarians, but we had the chance to interview Brian Doherty, who is a senior editor for Reason magazine. And honestly, we didn't want to spend the whole time asking the stereotypical questions like, but who pays for the roads? Or, Ayn Rand collected Social Security? Or, what the hell is up with Rand Paul's hair? We wanted him to talk philosophy in his own words. So if you're wondering why we didn't ask the, quote, hard-hitting questions, it's because Brian's not your drunken brother-in-law at Thanksgiving. He's a reasonable, thoughtful guy, and he's also heard those 100 times before. And we wanted to save our time for dick jokes. However, turns out Buck has known Brian for years and has a motherload of serious political questions backed up in his question hole. I lost the metaphor here. Point is, this one turned out a little serious, an actual serious discussion. So the dick joke per minute ratio is a little lower than usual. Still, we hope you enjoy it. And if you find yourself suffering from dick joke starvation, just whenever you hear the name Ayn Rand, in your head, substitute the words dangly wangly weenus. Enjoy! Warning, the Army of Drunks is not safe for work. It contains inebriated people talking about horrible things, so please listen responsibly.
Live from the Giggle Pit in San Bernardino, California, it's the Army of Drunks talking funny radio program with your hosts, Chef Matt Shaw, Buck Down, TJ the Bartender, special guest, Reason Magazine Senior Editor Brian Doherty. And now, let's get ready to mumble!
Hey, we are here, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Army of Drunks Talking Funny podcast brouhaha thing. I'm one of your hosts, Eric Trueheart, also known as Shaft.
I am not Spork because it's a show without a woman.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's a show without Therm.
Yeah.
Spork is on strike still for International Women's Day.
Yeah, nobody told her that.
She's milking the shit out of that.
She really is.
She's barely a girl.
Yeah.
And-
Let's be honest.
It's like, I don't even know if anatomically she's still a girl.
The funny thing, too, is that Therm is also on strike for International Women's Day.
Yeah.
Nobody...
Don't let that raise too many questions in your head.
Okay.
Just let those...
Yeah, well, it's
pass
because
on
women have
through.
been on strike from Therm for like the last 15 years.
This is what happens when you don't show up for the show.
He's on strike with women, but for completely different reasons.
Yeah.
It's not a strike when you're unemployed. Yeah.
Of course. With us is also Matt Shaw.
Hello.
Our special guest, before I introduce our replacement bartender, our special guest is Mr. Brian Doherty, senior editor for Reason magazine. Say hi, Brian.
Hi, I'm Brian Doherty.
We've been trying to get Brian for a couple of years. 3 years?
3 years.
Like when, especially like in the first year when we got into doing it this like as an organized podcast, and we were going through our friends with professional bona fides, like the short list of people we knew
Who have
that
real
were
jobs.
with name recognition and fame. Brian was on the short list, but he lives in Antarctica or something, or the desert.
Well, my memory is just as Spork screwed me up this week, that once like I had been offered a date and I had agreed to it, and like within a week she just texted me like, yeah, no, we're not doing that, with no explanation. That's my memory.
Yeah,
That's pretty much how the show goes.
And our fill-in DJ, bartender, same thing, is TJ.
Don't change the format of the show on
I'm
me, Eric.
sorry. TJ, master of all time, space, and cocktails. Say hello, TJ.
Hello, TJ.
Thank you. He's filling in for Therm, who we think is either a woman or dead. And we are drinking, actually, this is because of Brian here, we're drinking the Gimlet.
This is a lovely drink.
Which now is here in Los Angeles, it's now summer again, apparently.
Yeah.
So it's
As
a
of
great.
today.
This is a fantastic hot weather drink. If you're one of those people that lives without air conditioning, this is the kind of thing you would drink.
It's refreshing,
It's sort of
isn't it?
like, you know how like you drink whiskey in the winter to warm up? This is like the cocktail you drink when you're hot and angry. And it's got gin, which we know angries white people up.
Yeah, sure does. Makes a man mean.
Gin makes a man mean.
So, by the way, before we get too deep into this, do you want to hear? I've got us some more Fiverr.com
You wanna do
DJ
some-
drops.
And,
You want to hear
for those
them?
of you keeping track this season, you know that we've now turned to
Season
sourcing all of our stuff from the bottom of the barrel
Absolutely.
of Fiverr. And what's great is now that we're getting these bumps now, but pretty soon, I guarantee you by the end of the season, we're going to start finding out like what people will really do for $5.
Yeah. Also, by the way, we've got a Patreon page, which I'll get into later, but it's patreon.com/Army of Drunks if you want to actually
You can link it off the
this.
stupid site,
I
too.
can do that too, but nobody goes to that site. So, favorite from last time was this guy. This is worth every dime of my $5.
The Army of Drunks, Season 3. We're just getting loaded.
Yeah, so like,
That's the one where he got the copyright.
Yes.
Yeah.
No. He got the copyright the whole time. It was
What
the
was
Army
the
of
one
Drunks.
we were at
season 3. We're just getting loaded. And then there's this guy.
Yo, right now it's all about the Army of Drunks, Season 3. We are just getting started.
Oh, he fucked it up in two different ways. So
How
first
many
of all,
words do you? Yeah.
First of all, he got the you only had 2 lines, but he did it as season free.
No, but I asked for that. It's Jamaican. Jamaican.
Yeah, but that's tree.
You're being racist. That's Jamaica Bonics. Yeah, don't mock him for that.
But I thought you were supposed to say it a tree.
Oh shit, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Maybe
No.
I'm the racist.
No, maybe he's racist.
Maybe we're all
that's-
racist.
Maybe we're all
There's
racist.
there's an urban London type accent that is free.
Free.
For 3.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's not judge. But let's judge him on the fact that he couldn't say we're just getting loaded.
That he
Do you think any of these
inserted
people
a
that,
different
like
word.
here's what I'm wondering is like
Yeah.
sooner or later I wonder if any of these people you're not giving them the URL to the show, are you?
Oh, hell no.
Okay, good.
Okay, good.
I'm also giving them 5 stars no matter what they do.
Yeah, sure.
and lead with that.
Because I figure that
Lead with the fact that you're gonna give them 5 stars.
if you're dependent on Fiverr for your living, you have
Yeah.
a lot of problems, and I can just dispense a tiny amount of
You're gonna
kindness
need
into
to
your
put
life.
like a Star Wars action figure halfway up your ass. But
Yeah.
you're getting $5 and they're
$5,
giving you 5
dude,
stars.
$5.
Promise you up
and
front.
for me, yeah. And then I decided to get some a lady involved who does the sexy one, and well, let's see you.
The Army of Drunks, Season 3. We're just getting started.
She got it wrong too.
Did you? Are you sure you sent the right
Yes,
copy?
I'm absolutely
Okay.
sure. I sent
Just
her.
getting started. How did both people fuck that up?
Because
maybe
I guess-
it's the same person.
Whoa. Whoa, mind
What if
blown.
it's somebody that's got multiple
There's 3
profiles?
people on Fiverr.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, there's only 3 people total left.
a crying game
That's
situation.
talent.
Hey, you want to hear about the Gimlet now that I'm rolling?
Yeah.
That's a
do it.
transition for you.
Sure.
Hey, speaking of Fiverr, you want to hear about the Gimlet?
Yeah. Right on.
We're drinking the. I'm just trying to be time conscious.
You're just getting started.
I'm just getting started. And so let me
have to
tell you a little
change
about
the
the
show.
Gimlet. Now,
Which, by the way, you could fucking blast through one of
I
these.
know the Gimlet is made. Thank
goes down
you,
smooth.
TJ, master of all time,
I
space,
think-
and cocktails.
Oh, we're going to get gin drunk. I'm coming up on the second one of these.
All right, changing up
Uh-oh.
every drink. See, here's
Every
what's
third
in.
one of these is going to have rubbing alcohol in it.
It's a little bit like Russian. It's rubbing roulette, is what
Rubbing
it is.
roulette.
And
That actually is a totally different game.
That's yeah. I don't want to.
what
That's rubbing roulette is a.
you played that in college,
You
right?
play. There's a glory hole involved. I guarantee you.
Yeah.
Like you put your dick through like where you take. Here's what you do.
Okay.
You take the doorknob off.
Okay.
Of your dorm room doors. It's just
All right.
that little hole.
Yeah.
And then you throw your junk in there.
And then
it's
just wait.
No, yeah, just wait. Sooner
Always
or later,
bet on black?
somebody's gonna give that a tug. Racist. Somebody's gonna give it a tug, and then you got to figure out: did a guy just tug my dick, or was it a girl?
It was definitely not
So
a girl.
it's not like it's
no
not
girls
a,
tugging a dick through a doorknob. That's for damn
It's
sure.
college. People experiment, dude.
Okay, fair enough.
But no,
You're
that would
saying
be
that
the
because
thing.
you did it, and in your mind, you want to think it was
Yeah.
a girl who tugged your dick
Yeah,
through the
well,
doorknob.
and that's the thing is like how could you tell? Let me ask you this: Let's
Yes.
say a guy. And
Yes.
not like some burly construction worker with like callous like
I can't judge on
TJ
calluses.
hands,
All right.
like bear paw hands like TJ, but somebody with like soft pillowy hands. Could your dick tell the difference between a dude's hand, a dude's soft hand, and a girl's soft hand? Do you think you could tell the difference?
I don't know.
This is what we got to get somebody on Fiverr for.
We'll never
Or the listeners.
That was a great series of ads in Esquire in the early 70s. Can your dick tell the difference?
Yeah, only my dick can tell the Only my dick knows.
So, the gimlet, if you pronounce it gimlet, you're wrong, and you should be
And you suck.
stabbed in the neck.
It's like GIF.
Yeah.
Stop trying to make GIF a thing, dude.
Started
Nope,
on that.
it's GIF.
It's GIF.
GIF.
You're late.
Yeah,
I don't care who you are.
Yeah, it's okay. It's basically gin, lime juice or Rose's lime juice, and simple syrup. That's it.
That's it.
There's no real like
Don't
mixer
fucking
in there.
overthink it.
Basically, it's gin with stuff in there to make you forget it's gin,
Yeah.
so you will drink a ton of it.
Yeah.
That being said, you can still taste the gin in it as opposed to a vodka gimlet, which is kind of for pussies.
Then you go pick a fight with your roommate.
Yeah, exactly. Or someone else's roommate or a stranger.
Yeah, just go bang on the neighbor's door.
Yeah, or advanced level with a cop. So anyway, here's the thing. So it's just gin, lime juice, or Rose's lime juice.
Now, if you want to really fancy this up, the last time we did this years ago, we actually, Thurm sat there and squeezed all the limes himself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was like, you do a
I
fresh.
did that too.
Yeah, fresh lime all the way through. You can do it with Roses. It's fine. There's no one's going to get mad at you.
Well,
for doing that.
here's the thing, and we've just done some research, and TJ set me straight on a few things. So
I like
Rose's-
how you
yeah.
looked at Wikipedia for 30 seconds.
Bullshit, dude. You know as well as I do. I check at least 3 websites when I do this.
Now 3 articles.
Only
on
one of
Wikipedia.
which is Wikipedia.
Yeah.
and the 4th of which is TJ. So
There you go.
Yeah. Rose's lime juice is actually kind of bitter if you drink it on its
I
own.
think so.
And it's if you pour it without the sweetener in it, you can use it. It's good, but without the sweetener, it's just too damn bitter. You need the sweetener. And so what you're drinking right now is actual squeezed lime juice, and it's way more civilized. No, what you were drinking before.
Bugs on his second.
Bugs on his second. Round 2 is Roses. So you've had 2 now. What do you think between the first one and the second one?
This one is definitely more tart. Which one is this?
It's Roses.
Roses plus sweetener.
A dry gin rather than aromatic gin.
Yeah, dry gin rather than a botanical gin there. Traditionally, it's with Plymouth gin because that's what the British drank, but any dry gin will work. But
So wait, what's the one that the
the
British drink? What's the one
Plymouth.
that's probably the one that's like the white man's tequila. That's the one that makes
Plymouth gin? Yeah,
Plymouth gin. Mm-hmm.
So
So that's
here-
an aromatic.
Plymouth gin's a dry gin. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, they're all more aromatic than vodka. but
Yeah. Which one makes you sack India?
You said sack. So here's the deal. As always, there is a disputed origin story. The gimlet was invented by Antoine Gimlet in 1978
Shut
at
up,
the Sandy
really?
Crack Bar in Miami Beach, Florida.
You're making that up. That is not true.
No.
Here's
Sandy.
the thing: if you had stopped before you had gotten to Sandy Crack Bar, it was almost believable.
Well, that's what that. Well,
Gary, because I was gonna call bullshit on Gary Gimlet. I was totally prepared for that to possibly be true.
Jerry Gimlet.
yeah,
Jerry Gimlet.
No, here's the deal. So back
Oddly enough, Jerry with a G.
Yeah,
So
Jerry
that's-
with a G.
kind of fucked up. Yeah.
And he gets real shitty about it too when you spell his name
Don't
wrong.
cross Jerry. Is
Yeah.
it Gary? It's Jerry. Fuck you.
Fuck you.
So anyway, as you know, the British, there's a long history of scurvy among sailors because that's a vitamin C deficiency. Your teeth fall out, you just get generally shitty. Now, in the 18th
That's not
century...
just a genetic weakness of the
of the
English?
Brits? No.
Well, they're they-
Matt, you could speak to that. You're British.
Yeah.
yeah, they don't have a lot to work on, but it,
So the point is, people knew this. By the 18th century, they'd figured out that it was vitamin C, and vitamin C could be found in citrus juice.
Matt's so British he has hemophilia.
Yeah,
He's got the original royal.
very noble disease,
Yeah,
Buck.
Yeah.
He suffers.
So-
That's how British you are.
All right, peoples. You learned something. So anyway, they figured it out by 18th century, but they didn't really figure out how to deal with it until later, around 19th century, because here's the thing, vitamin C goes bad before the citrus does. So if you tried to like boil it down like you would anything else, vitamin C goes bad. If you sort of leave it out on the ship for a while, it goes bad. Figures out the only thing.
Did they figure this out before they figured out how they were getting cholera? Because it wasn't that long ago.
Right. Yeah. I
like it's
I
late
think the
1800s.
vitamin C thing was understood, though I don't know if they didn't.
It feels
know
like
it
it
was
would've been
vitamin C,
before.
but I think they just
Doesn't
knew
matter.
that.
They
They
figured, I
Lions
think
is
I feel like
Nobody
they figured
got
out
drunk 'cause
scurvy
of
before they
cholera.
figured out cholera.
Doesn't matter. So
It just
turns
got,
out,
I'm just trying to make a point of where their priorities
all right,
were.
fair enough. Well, one of the things
Fucking English.
that they realized is that you could preserve it with sugar. You could also preserve it, and so anyway, along with the daily ration of rum, they started giving this sort of sugared lime juice. And apparently, back in the Merchant Shipping Act of 1867, this is very famous among British Gimlet fans, I guess, stipulated that no lime or lemon juice shall be deemed fit and proper to be taken on board such ship for the use of the crew and passengers thereof, unless the same has been obtained from a bonded warehouse, 4 and 2 shipped to the shores, not unless contained 15% of
government regulation
spirits. Unless same pack in such bottles. So they basically would distribute this with the rum, and that had to be properly preserved, usually with alcohol at that point. But then what happened was a man named Lachlan Rose, who was Scottish.
Of course.
He was.
Lachlan Rose invented a technique for preserving lime juice with sugar and sulfates. And so he invented Rose's lime juice. That was a sweet stuff that they started shipping around. Basically, Lachlan determined that if I start preserving lime juice with sugar instead of alcohol, I'll be able to sell it to more people, because even then they weren't getting their kids drunk.
I have 2 questions about Rose's lime juice. One, is it still owned by the Rose family, or did he sell it to like some Belgian Abnat Bev?
Nat Bev. No, here's the
QVC
deal that happened.
firm?
He sold it. First, Schweppes bought it.
Oh, Schweppes.
Yeah, and I had that the whole thing here. Schweppes bought it, and then Schweppes got bought by like Cadbury, and then they got bought by Coca-Cola. So
Unilever, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
They all belong to Monsanto now.
Pretty much.
Unilever.
But I will say this: British Rose's lime juice. You buy some British. It's still made with sugar. American Rose's lime juice made with corn syrup.
Of course.
My memory of the last time I looked at a bottle is it had the very amusing phrase, contains 100% lime juice.
Yeah.
As in, like, that part of it that is
The
lime
part
juice
that we put in
is 100% lime
that
juice.
which is lime juice is totally lime juice.
Is all
the
lime juice.
rest is just
Could be
Contains
anything.
Rest is up
trace
to
amounts
God.
of 100% lime juice. Yeah, it's still pretty much lime
pine
juicy
nuts.
in there, but it is, it's not the same as it used to be. In fact, there was someone was reading up how to people who say make your own Rose's lime juice, and you can. And it takes a lot of lime juice and not quite as much sugar. And they also suggest you put in the zest of the lime in there to make it a little bitter. Because if you take Rose's lime juice and drink it next to what we've made for some of this, which is lime juice and simple syrup, Rose's lime juice is a little more bitter, like the peel's in there. Anyway, Lachlan Rose, his magical elixir began to meld apparently with... Now, your average sailor got rum, but apparently your up-and-coming officer...
sailor got syphilis.
Yeah, your average sailor got a lot of horrors.
He got a lot of things.
But the upcoming, your upwardly mobile officers started drinking more gin. And apparently the upwardly mobile officers were drinking gin with their lime juice, and then when they got back to London, they started spreading this around the local bars and whatnot. Hey, how about some gin in my lime juice? And that's where the Gimlet was born.
Yeah, gin's not really traditionally a down market drink, is it?
No, not true. I mean, it is now, but
now.
Not in the last century, no, or the century before that. Now, what does every drink have? Disputed origin story. They don't have a disputed origin, but a disputed name. Why is it called a gimlet?
Okay.
Well, there's one thing is that...
It's not that guy from Lord of the Rings, is it?
Yes, it is. No, it's not. So, no, apparently one of the rumors is that naval doctor Rear Admiral Sir Thomas Desmond Gimlet got famous for mixing gin with his lime juice to, quote, make the medicine go down. And he introduced it to his
Make
messmates.
the voices in his head shut up.
No. Desmond's voices never shut up.
Yeah, well, when you got he probably got like World War I PTSD.
No, early. He was 1857 to 1943. So he was still on
43.
the
He would
ships.
have done. He would have done a run.
I don't know. He
in
might
World
have been
War
too old by World War One.
But
What was the naval component of World War One?
It was still trench warfare.
He was drunk.
They were in the water. They still had to
How they figured out how to dig
Mariana's
trenches in the
trench
ocean.
warfare.
I like that they just parked
By the
their
way, that's
ships.
my new band name.
Anyway, it wasn't mentioned in his obituary, so people say, well, then it couldn't be true because it wasn't mentioned in his obituary. So
Did
nobody
he
fucking
die
knows.
drunk?
I hope so. I mean, for Christ's sake, he was British in like the turn of the 20th century. I hope he died drunk.
Yeah.
The
He died
other thing
drunk.
is that apparently
As did everyone around him.
the name gimlet, the term gimlet, is the name of a small tool used to tap the barrels of spirits that were carried on ships.
So you would
Really?
tap a barrel with a gimlet. So the drink was a tool for drilling small holes, just as like it pierced your brain. Hey, have a
To
little
let
thing.
all the bad humors out.
You gotta pierce your
It's
pierce your
like a
head.
multi-tool of its day.
The multi-tool when you only had one
when you're
job.
not-
To pierce the veil of civility.
Yeah.
There you go.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the gimlet. Now, if you're going to make one, there is no real consensus on the amount of gin to the amount of lime juice. A lot of them will say, like, I've heard like 4 parts gin to 1 parts Rose's lime juice. I've also heard 2 parts gin to 1 part lime juice to 1 part simple syrup.
You just
which
put
is like
enough
a
in
2 to
till
1,
like
2 to
the
half
voices
and
in your
half.
head just shut the
Things
fuck
get
up.
quiet right down.
Yeah, till you're no longer like worried about garroting some fucking German guy in the mud.
So just experiment. 5 part gins to 1 part simple syrup to 1 part lime juice seems to be a pretty common one. But you can use 4 part gin to 1 part lime. I think this is a lovely summer drink.
Yeah. It is.
And a good way of getting your gin down.
Yeah. No, this is like a real good 1 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Like maybe right after you finish mowing the lawn.
Yeah, but you can't
Take the
drink
edge
just
off.
one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can't drink just one. Anyway, this is the Army of Drunks Talking Funny podcast thing, experience, brew, ha.
We were
going
get
to
through
be...
segment 1, is that it?
That's it. That's
All
this
right.
drink. Yeah, we're plowing because...
The Army of Drunks Season 3. We're just getting started.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Army of Drunks Season 3. We are just getting started.
I'm here at Paul Masson's Chateau in California. Almost every night here there's a wine tasting party, and one of the favorites is Paul Masson Chablis. It's light and crisp. It's delicious. The wine you drink the most should be the best. And they take special care with it here because they know Chablis is America's most popular wine. Paul Masson Chablis. I recommend it. Paul Masson will sell no wine before it's time.
Hey everybody, I'm just going to say this, patreon.com/Army of Drunks. That's patreon.com/Army of Drunks. You ever have someone ask you for money and you say to them, look, I know you're just going to spend it on booze. We need your money for booze. Okay, honestly, doing this podcast is kind of pricey and we'd like to keep it ad-free. Or at least just the fake ad. So if you go to patreon.com/Army of Drunks, that's patreon.com/Army of Drunks, that's what? That's right, and donate just $1 or $2. It would really, really help us. That's patreon.com/Army of Drunks, patreon.com/Army of Drunks. We promise we'll spend it on booze. Thank you.
The Army of Drunks, Season 3. We are just getting loaded.
Was that here's the thing. Was
What?
it a person that did that? Or did
I think somebody...
I think they type it into a thing.
I think
'Cause
Alexa
the way
did
she
that.
over-enunciated the sentence sounded like my ways app.
Yeah. What were we talking about? Brian, hi.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hi there, buddy. We've actually full disclosure. We've been buddies with Brian in the real world for quite some time.
Well, he was out making a name for himself as a thinker.
Brian has had many rich lives, haven't you?
Yeah, before you got to this point as a libertarian journalist, you were what? Back it up for us.
You know, I actually have had essentially the same job editing and reporting for a libertarian magazine called Reason for 23 years.
Wow.
So there's not a lot more to me, actually. I got
He's mostly made up of journalism.
I got sucked into the libertarian thing as an idealistic youth in college, and
That's where they get you.
have worked in it professionally pretty much ever since. I've dug myself a real deep trench in this set of ideas.
Is it like Scientology? Like, do they make you disconnect?
No, there are people there's this weirdo internet loon who is of strange appeal to the libertarian world named Stefan Molyneux, who literally does. He encourages all of his followers to he uses the bizarre Scientology-esque phrase "defoo," which means family of origin. You must defoo yourself. Thus, you will listen to him all the more. And he is not obviously. And
Does he have any good ideas?
You know, he used to, and then he realized that his disdain.
Cult leaders are like indie bands. Like they get that first record out, and then they kind of peter out.
His disdain or dislike for non-whites has made him a Trumpy guy in the age of Trumpy.
It seems like, libertarianism can get a reputation for being like the school of thought for Republicans who want to just want to smoke weed and watch porn, but
it's
still kind of don't like
factually very white. That's absolutely undeniable. Like the people who actually have fallen into it and promote it and work in it, it is indeed super white. I don't know that it's any more super white than any other like weird than comic fandom or or any other weird intellectual habit of nerdy people, and I would argue that there's nothing inherent in it that should make it that way, but it's a sociological fact.
I voted Libertarian in like the first Clinton election. Like that was like around when I was a card carrying Libertarian. I had the actual card.
I did not know that. My God.
Around 92 or so.
No, wouldn't Ayn Rand say you need no card to be truly libertarian?
But you do have to have like a dog-eared copy of Virtue of Selfishness that you conspicuously carry to the coffee shop or whatever.
Well, Ayn Rand, because she was such a cranky lady, actually openly despised libertarians, despite the fact that technically, if you believe what Ayn Rand believes about politics, you are a libertarian. But she was so defensive and protective about her philosophy that she felt that anyone who came to the same conclusions as she did without reasoning up from the facts of reality and A is A and B is B and all the way to Z is Z. And then if you didn't do that, then you were both an intellectual plagiarist and a sinister villain. And she actually thought that about most people.
And that was just like one layer of dickishness. So do you, like there was a lot of accusations that were kind of floating around Ron Paul ghostwriting.
Right, exactly.
A lot of seemingly racist stuff.
I can, or people ghost over him. Yeah, it is interesting because that was the big scandal surrounding him in the early 90s when he was, he did 2 stints in Congress in the early 90s. He was between them. I mean, he was like 12 terms, but in 2 different stints. I've been drinking. And in the interim, the people surrounding him, and this is kind of like the late 80s, early 90s, are like, hey, the militia movement was kind of on the rise. And they're like, we recognize that the audience that's into like totally hardcore, fuck the government, guns kind of thing, tend to be white, weird, mean, and kind of racist. And so the people... there is no way to know this for 100% sure. I'm pretty confident it's true that
because you did write a piece about that. I remember you writing about.
There were newsletters of like the Ron Paul Survival Report, and for a few years there, they contained a bunch of pretty dank, racisty and anti-gay shit, kind of along the lines of like shitty right-wing talk radio at the time, like jokes about blacks are fleet-footed criminals and what about that AIDS? Woo, because this is and I'm pretty sure he didn't write it for numerous reasons. One, most people who are of some prominence and have a weird newsletter with their name on it aren't really writing it. Right. It's like they're not writing. He's not really a writer. He never really acted like that before, and he never really acted like that after. And I kind of know some things about some of the people working for and with him then, and they always kind of had the tendency to do that. So, but it did go out under his name, and he bears some blame for that. But so the funny thing is that came up as a scandal, and of course libertarians who liked the things that were good about Ron Paul were either really embarrassed about it, and it made some of them go like, screw this guy, he has this shit in his past that we don't want anything to do with, so fuck him. And others like me, I took the stance of like, well, right now in the context of 2008, 2012, he's the only guy saying necessary things about the war and the drug war and freedom in general, and he hasn't said anything stupid like that or put anything stupid like that under his name for decades. So let's just believe, that it didn't really reflect his thoughts.
To overlook.
But the funny thing is, so and of course, everyone was like, this is appalling. It's destroying his political possibilities, because no one can get anywhere in politics here in the year 2008 or 2012 with this kind of dark crap in their past.
Yeah.
And yet it turns out
you
that
can.
the troglodytes who were advising Ron Paul to do that in 1990 knew way the hell more about American politics than I did or than any of these respectable libertarians did, because Donald Trump comes along mixing even worse kind of shit like that with a little bit of anti-government stuff, like he says he's I don't know anything really that's happened, but he's against certain regulations and he's allegedly going to cut taxes while spending more or whatever. So that combination of kind of mad anti-government stuff with a whole lot of racial and ethnic resentment, shockingly successful, and I wouldn't have expected it.
Let me ask you, if I may, like what. So what is like the ideal libertarianism sort of divorced of the racist stuff and the crackpot stuff? And it feels like a lot of people are attracted to it because they feel like there's a really sort of positive ideal under there that beyond just fuck the darkies.
Yeah, I do want to. I mean,
I don't think it's inherently. I don't think the race. I wasn't meaning to imply that the racist part of it is a central component of it. What I was kind of more leaning towards was if we were to look at libertarianism as like, say, a dice, there's at least one side of it that's sticky enough that for some reason it does attract, like there's like a Venn diagram center between that and the people that do live in this sort of weird, what we now call the alt-right, what we used to call the militia movement, which we used to call the Birchers, like there was this strange, like there's an orbit that's disturbingly close to libertarianism that shares enough common cause to where I feel like, and this is what I was kind of sort of trying to lead to, was are the people that are like down the middle libertarians, is it disturbing to you, or do you even care that it does seem to have, like I said, at least one sticky side that pulls that, whatever we're now calling that white nationalist anti-government movement of the moment?
Yeah, I care a lot more now than I did a year ago. And the reason for that is it was easy. Like in the early 90s, it was easy to believe as like a white guy in the South. Like, yeah, they're still kind of troglodyte, idiot, asshole, racist, but they're really kept in the corner in this culture, and they don't have a lot of power.
Well, there's a difference
like
between like David Koresh and Donald Trump.
Right, and it felt like if you had asked me 4 years ago, I would have felt like, yeah, that's dying, and it's good that it's dying, and I'm enough of a free speech absolutist that I don't really want to press on people just because you believe this shitty thing. Well, are you harming people? Are you knocking people over the head because of it? If not, then I don't care, because it didn't seem. It was easy not to care because it didn't seem that dangerous. I was completely mistaken about how dangerous it could be. Like underestimated the Trump movement from beginning to end.
You were on record. I mean, not on record, but it's what Trump stands for is, you would say, not libertarian. It's more his own sort of. Yeah,
it's not. Though I will address Buck's point that there's this sort of sociological link. There's no intellectual link, but in the context of America since the Great Society, it is a fact that there's a lot of white people who both hate the government and either hate or are rather uncomfortable with the blacks or Mexicans or brown-skinned people. Like, that's just a fact. There's nothing about being against the government that means you should be against anyone for any kind of ethnic or racial issue. But in America, it's a fact that there is. I think part of it is that one of the things they focus on, even though it's really one of the smallest parts of what government does, is they're said about the welfare state. And they have this sense, which is also usually factually incorrect, that the welfare state is somehow driven by these people who are other than me. And I don't like that, and I don't like them, and
so I guess the question is, like, on a more granular level, is like, where again to get into the intersectional politics, the Venn diagram. What I wonder now is, like, when we think of those people, the sort of these regressive, more racist, more like the quote unquote real Americans. Yeah. I'm wondering if that intersectional space in between what was like kind of the post Johnson Republican Party, for example, like the Southern Strategy Republican Party, is that intersectional space growing in libertarianism, where those sort of people, like, again, since like the advent of like the talk radio, the Rush Limbaughs, like that post-Clinton wave of anti-government that kind of turned into, like, I think became more racist, I think, when the target became an actual black guy in the Obama years. Like, what I'm wondering is now that we're into Trump, who's not quote unquote a traditional Republican. Does it feel like some part of that libertarian thing is being pulled away? Do you think do you feel like co-opted like in some ways?
Yes, and there is, as I expressed earlier, like I didn't worry that much about the racists because I didn't understand that they were actually a cultural force on the rise. I naively believed they were a cultural force on the way out. And the Trump thing definitely taught me that that's not true. And you're definitely seeing it in the sort of intra-libertarian intellectual fields, a lot of people rising and going, oh yeah, we got to talk about the race and ethnicity stuff more because it's
so
fucking
it is
serious.
On you guys' radio.
It's fucking serious, yeah. And you'll see, you can search it, a lot of, if you Google like libertarianism alt-right, you can see a lot of people from the libertarian world standing up going, let us explain to you alt-right people why you're fucking crazy and why while you may hate certain things about the government, you're not actually libertarian in any way. And the intellectual alt-righters are actually kind of doing the same thing. They're also going, yes, it's true, because we actually believe in government's responsibility to forge the ethno-nationalist state that will do good for the white working man or whatever.
Let me take a step back, and for people who are just listening who may not be as up on the various ideologies and all that, how would you describe libertarianism in the most idealistic, positive way? Because I know Jesse Ventura considers themselves a libertarianism, who's someone probably the alt-right hates. How would you differentiate that from what alt-right ideology, which often glosses on
the basic libertarian message, and I'll first express it in the way that it's most likely to sound really appealing to people, and then I'll go. It's got.
You
I know,
have one job.
I know you think
that literally is your one job.
Right. But I will then honestly sort of break it down and go. But you don't really. You might think you believe that when you hear me express it in this way, but you actually don't. But so because
you're a fucking poser.
Yeah. Or the nicest way to express it is, it's about figuring out how to forge a human social order in which the use of a centralized monopoly on violence, which is what libertarians see government as, is minimized as much as possible. And some people think as much as possible means disappeared entirely. Some believe
drowned in the bathtub.
Yeah, we do actually need like a one final arbiter for things like law enforcement and courts and the military, but it's all about like, let's figure out how to make this whole society thing work with the least number of the decision finally comes down to a guy with a gun telling you you're fucking going to do this, which it's one of the little libertarian rhetorical things, which I do believe is true, that like that's what any law is, that like you, before you say there ought to be a law, you must say to yourself, and I believe that my grandmother should be shot in the fucking head for violating this rule, because
that
that's
escalated
like,
in a hurry.
Well, it does. I mean, because this
you mean
again,
spending time in jail is on the
this is one of our things.
$50.
Right?
That's
okay, they
thing.
fine you. Of course, it starts with a fine. But what if you do not pay the fine? Then suddenly, after a while, there's a warrant out for your arrest. And then what if they come to take you away, and you're like, screw you, you're not taking me away just because I didn't pay that thing, and now it's a fucking warrant, and you're coming to get me, and I'm gonna resist because I'm a free human. And then, grandma's fucking dead on the ground with a bullet in her head. So that's I'm framing this as like this is what libertarians really believe. If there were a funny image we could attach to that, but it's radio.
Is the dead grandma meme something that gets used a lot, or is that a rhetorical device that you just pulled out of your ass?
No, I did not invent the rhetorical device.
Who did?
Memeing it.
And did that person hate their grandma?
It's a disputed origin story for sure.
Look up law shoot your grandma. You might Google that. So that
by the way, how many pages till you get to porn with that?
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know. That's a good question.
We can put money down on that right now.
All right, well, you guys continue this intellectual conversation. I'm going to start Googling images.
I guess, okay, so to dial back a little bit, because like I'm kind of curious.
So I want to say to my progressive friend there, like a progressive may hear that and go, I like the sound of minimizing the use of violence in social relations, but they really don't, because most of them actually do believe, and for good, I mean, we're certainly not going to settle who is right and wrong here. Maybe we will, but
the drunkest is right.
They, for whatever reason, believe it. No, that might sound great, but honestly, there's so many things wrong with the world that really have to ultimately be solved with laws, which ultimately means have to be solved with people with guns telling people what to do, whether it be, rich people are fucking greedy bastards and they're not going to help take care of anyone, or corporations are horrible bastards and they're going to pollute the environment and all that. So, But yeah, the libertarian thing in overarching is like, if we can figure out a way to make all this work without laws, which means without ultimately settling it with a gun in grandma's head, like, let's try to figure that out. And, how far you take it is up to your own judgment.
Is libertarianism, let me ask you like a question, do you think libertarianism is something almost like communism, that the smaller the population gets, the higher its degree of efficacy could potentially be?
I don't believe that that's true, but with communism, I can't point you to any real world evidence, because there has not been any modern Western nation state that has minimized the functions of government to the degree. It's just never happened. So you could posit that, you guys are fucking completely fantasizing, and that's impossible, and you may well be right. And you also may say, which you may well be right, that you wouldn't, especially those of us who grew up in this world, it's like you wouldn't even like living in that world, Mr. Libertarian. I'm like, maybe I wouldn't like. You wouldn't like it if every road was a toll road. That would be annoying as shit, wouldn't it? But like, yeah, it might be. It's like maybe I'd end up spending more for roads. There'd be a lot of people who'd end up spending less. But like, isn't it fair that the people who use the road should pay for it?
Again, like, is the concern that, what we have seen by, the tangible examples we can point to of smaller, more limited government, that what will generally fills in the vacuum is tribalism and regionalism. Like if you look at Africa, half the states in Africa have what could be described mechanically as very libertarian governments in practice, if not theory. But what happens is the social order will invariably, the vacuum that it creates, I love how jarring that is.
I know. I'm going to try to stop it here.
But I guess that's the concern is if you do, in the sort of Grover Norquist sense of the word, reduce government to something that can be drowned in the bathtub, is the thing that fills the void potentially worse?
Yeah, it could be strongman violence. Yeah, you definitely need...
It traditionally is strongman violence.
I mean, if the goal here is to shoot as few grandmas as possible,
I feel...
Which seems to be based on that...
I'm not shitting on libertarianism.
I know. I believe, and I might be wrong, that in a Western culture with Enlightenment traditions, that the glide path to a more consistently libertarian world could be safe and wealth enhancing and I could be completely wrong.
It's the end of Atlas Shrugged. It's the crazy little valley in Atlas Shrugged that's hidden underneath the mirror.
Yeah.
And in order to work, it presupposes that everybody is this incredibly noble being.
Yeah, Rand, I don't know if Rand consciously understood that if you took that vision serious, like, oh, so you're saying libertarianism could work if everyone was a fucking super genius. She wouldn't. If you had asked her that intellectually, she would not say that that's true.
Right.
But the structure of that novel sort of leads you to feel like, she worked on this for 13 years, and she was like presenting the ultimate, dramatization of her vision of the world, and that's where she went with it. So maybe she did think that, and maybe it's even true. But I don't think it's true, and I hope it's not true.
Do libertarians, like modern libertarians, because obviously the Ayn Rand thing is something that's so to people that are not libertarians, but a lot of them that are at least college educated or whatever have that level of understanding.
Yeah, and
there's
it's fair. Yeah.
Again, those two things are fairly well equated. Do libertarians in terms of how high is objectivism now in the modern libertarian movement? Is it like gauche now? To be
No, it actually is, yes.
That's what it feels like it would be.
The generation I grew up in, it was, again, just a fact that the vast majority of people who were, actively pursuing libertarian activism, politics, ideas, had Rand either first or second hand in their background.
Right.
In the internet age, it's less and less true, and especially as sort of snooty, smarty pants kids come into it. They've come into everything. It's definitely it's a point of pride, but I have nothing to do with Ayn Rand.
Fuck Ayn Rand.
Yeah. But I still have a great deal of affection for old Ayn, even though she was not my conversion experience, but I still I respect what
was your conversion experience, would you say?
It actually also was a novel, strangely enough, and it was the Illuminatus trilogy by Robert Anton Wilson and Robert
Shelton.
Wilson.
Illuminatus trilogy, yes. It's very classic.
And it did, and it got me on an emotional level, and this was actually one of the intents of the book.
Why is every one of our awesome guests it's so funny. Every great guest we've ever had on this show, right about this time,
Yeah.
we out them as a sci-fi nerd, like a total sci-fi nerd.
Yeah.
The best one's right about the same mark.
Yeah. It's about as we're closing out segment 2.
Yeah.
And one of the things that book did, and this was like I was 12 or 13 years old, it emotionally imbued me with this notion that, government is kind of cruelty. Like whether or not you believe it's ultimately necessary, it really is a cruel thing. It's like other people going, you are going to do what we fucking say, and we're going to hurt you if you don't. And that
Is
seemed
that
I didn't like
different
that as a
than
way
no
to-
government? I mean,
let
that
me
seems
ask
to
you-
be more of an that's more of an endemic problem to
Right.
people.
I agree, and that's certainly
I don't know that that's a government problem. I think it's
there's a
just
quote,
whatever
my-
monkey had the biggest stick.
My history of libertarianism has a great quote by this guy who, like me, has been a libertarian activist all his life, who's like, government is never disappearing because, libertarians view government as crime, essentially, and like people fucking have a criminal nature, and there will always be people who want to tell other people what to do and are willing to use force to do it. And but the mission of the intellectual movement is to make people not want to do that. And we have some. It's like we all used to be cannibals and monarchists and like killing people in the fucking
waiting
streets.
for some of that stuff to
let
come
me
out.
ask you this, though. I mean,
things can change. Like
but
people
like
can change.
The power vacuum that takes it when a government vanishes. I mean, it seems like that you talk about like government is inherently violent, and that's true.
Yeah.
But is in the libertarian point of view, inherently better if, say, a large conglomeration of personal power like a corporation is that if that's shooting your grandmother, is that inherently better than a government shooting
No,
your
it's
grandmother?
not. You don't want anyone shooting your grandmother. That's the point.
I think
I
we
hate
can
my
all at
grandmother.
least
That's
agree on
the
that.
take home from this.
unless she deserves it.
Nice one, Matt.
Unless she deserves it.
Yeah. No,
She
my
had it
grandma, my
coming.
grandma was a lovely woman, but she's been dead for years, so you can shoot her all you want. Not going to
Yeah.
do you any good.
Yeah. Walk me through like the current American libertarian movement. Like let's just assume every election's winnable, and let's just assume you can get to the point. Walk me through what end game is for you guys. If you were to say seize the reins of power, what's the goal state of that? What does that look like? What does America look like under one-party libertarian rule? What still exists? What doesn't exist anymore?
A post-apocalyptic hellscape. Most
Pre-apocalyptic hellscape, probably.
the goal is to reduce government to only, and I'm going to use the sort of milder version, not the hardcore version that says, we're actually abolishing all governing functions immediately. But the shorter than that version is we want government only to protect people's lives and property. The sort of the highfalutin philosophical thing is
So
the
it's
belief
just police
that,
and firefighters.
essentially, it's like, as humans, as a person, you have the right to defend yourself, and you have the right to defend your justly owned property. What is justly owned property, of course, is a super complicated question. And so, government only has the powers that we justly have them, and we delegate it to them. So they don't have any power or right that we didn't have to begin with. And so do we have the right to go, we're in need of something, and we're going to just take it from someone else? Maybe we don't. So maybe government doesn't have that right either. So it certainly means an end to everything you and all right-thinking people believe government needs to do.
What's the role of the corporate entities in a libertarian endgame?
Well, their role is to, presumably if they're there to do business in the classic sense and make a living, is to sell people goods and services that they want, and to do so without harming other people's lives and property. It's actually
Because that
on the
happens all the
environmental
time.
end.
Yeah.
On the environmental end, a really strict libertarianism would be far harsher on pollution than a regulatory one, because it would state that, hey, if you can show that this action you're doing is harming someone else, via whatever you put in the air, whatever you put in your water, they have the power to stop you, not just the power for
The
government to
libertarian
go.
government?
Right.
Who stops them?
Yeah, exactly. Because you're harming someone.
Right.
Whereas the current environment is just like, we're going to let you do a bunch of things, and what we let you do, whether, can you dump the coal ash in the water?
So
last year
did you
couldn't,
just
but maybe
actually
this year
make the
you could.
argument that the libertarians would be a harsher regulatory
a
state
proper
for business?
libertarian government, not regulatory, but punitive. That's actually part of the vision. It's like,
Well, I
you don't
think
stop
those-
people from doing things before that. You stop people from doing things that harm.
So it would be ex
if
post
you're
facto.
believing- Well, if you're believing,
in
that,
other
well, no,
words,
you stop them. It's like, okay, if you're doing this thing that is just inherently harming someone, you've got to stop doing it, and you've got to recompense them for the damage they've
Right.
done, which the regulatory state does not do. Of course, there's some who are uncomfortable with this because most libertarians, again, it's a sociological thing, are also pretty comfortable and up on like fucking industrial modernity is great. Like Ayn Rand, by the way, would completely reject what I just said.
Right.
And she literally at some point wrote that like you should kneel on your feet and kiss a smokestack because it represents the productive, wealth increasing powers of brilliant men. And
I
blah,
read
blah,
every
blah, blah.
one. I read every word that lady ever wrote.
Yeah, but like if you actually do completely take seriously the notion that actions that are harming other people's lives and property need to be stopped,
so
then it would
in
be even
other
tougher
words,
than the EPA.
to clarify, and I know we're running a little over here, but I just want to, because I think this is sort of a really interesting to summarize. If Factory A is polluting a stream, we don't make rules to say you can't pollute the stream. We wait until the stream is polluted, and then you get fined. We never establish a rule that what they did. It's always ex post facto.
Well,
correct?
in a sense, like you have to have done the harm first.
So,
yes.
Can you see? A
I
reasonable
understand why some people go, let's just stop the harm. But you do understand the current regulatory regime doesn't stop any harm. It just sort of manages like the smokestacks blow, the shit goes out
because the guys
somewhere.
making the smokestacks are
right, exactly.
paying for a certain amount of votes to do
that's
it.
how politics actually works.
That is.
Yeah.
That's what I'm just trying to. I guess that was all I was trying to do, is trying to move.
Yeah.
Like I want to see this, like how this is thought through to like actuality, because I think the thing that a lot of like liberals shit on libertarianism is that it seems like this very theoretical, college dorm. Everybody's sitting in the chair backwards, smoking pot, fantasizing about this world.
It is.
I'm kind of curious, and that's the route that libertarianism takes. And I'm just kind of more curious is like, as libertarian moves into the 21st century, is there like a very activist political agenda to start filling seats? And because like when I was a member, like in the 90s, it didn't feel to me like it was very activist in the sense that, like, it felt like an intellectual movement,
right.
And it felt like the price of admission was just believing certain things.
Yeah.
It never felt to me as if, like, here's our 2-year, 5-year, 10-year strategy for taking elected seats.
Because third-party politics is just impossible in America.
Yeah.
Like the two-party system has made that completely sure. People still pursue it, and I never really pursued it. Like I was never a member of the party, but I write about it and I watch it. It is there for people to be involved in politics and not feel completely dirty, to feel like, I'm with a party that actually really believes what I believe. It's kind of like the Bernieites and the Democrat thing. It's
By the way, now would be
a
really good time to plug your Ron Paul book.
Oh, right, yeah. I wrote, the whole Ron Paul situation was an example of someone of a libertarian movement background, and he ran for president with the Libertarian Party in '88, who went back to the Republican Party and served in Congress for a while. And in 2008 and 2012, he was the most successful instantiation of libertarianoid thinking in American politics, which at its best meant that in 2012 he got 2.1 million votes in the Republican primary, which put him, I think, number 4 in terms of votes, but he was number 2 in terms of delegate votes.
But look what it did to the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Like I don't think
it didn't do any. It didn't do any.
Yeah, it didn't do anything.
Well, let's say from the perspective of right now, it seems like it didn't do anything. I think that from the perspective of 20 years from now, it will seem to have done something. Because the funny thing about the Paul movement,
we got to wrap it up.
Okay. You don't think it changed the social? Like, I'm sorry, I got to add this one last question, which is, if there's an influence that I can directly draw a straight line between in terms of what Ron Paul did and it's just sort of getting the word libertarian in people's mouths in above ground, not just like college dorm, but this is now a thing we're talking about, is it would at least appear on a national level that the Republican Party is no longer hanging their hat on social wedge issues to the degree they were pre-Ron Paul. I feel like libertarianism has softened the culture war for Republicans and opened up the tent a little bit to where, like not as shitty about the gays, like a little bit less shitty about abortion, like a lot of the things that were the sort of the Reagan and Nixon politics. You don't think that's pulled at least a corner of the tent open?
Yes, that's probably true. The whole Trump thing, though, is...
I'm working towards blaming you for Donald Trump.
Right,
but
no, the whole
we're not
Trump
there
thing,
yet.
though, makes me... It's like... had Donald Trump happens to be like a New Yorker or whatever, and he clearly doesn't care about any of that stuff, even when he says he does, he clearly doesn't. Because my current thought about
Did you guys grease the tracks for that?
What's that?
Did you guys grease the track for that?
No, I don't. I mean, no, I don't think so.
I don't either, but it sounded fun to say.
Donald, I've come to believe, like, I don't know if you follow the Dilbert guy, who is like Donald Trump's biggest fan, and I've come to actually believe the Dilbert vision, which is more or less that Donald
By the way,
Trump,
no one's ever said that on this show.
Yeah, the Donald Trump is essentially a wizardly magician who has hypnotized you all, and I kind of have come to believe that after underestimating him for 15 months.
Well, rightfully so.
And so I believe that like everything about Donald Trump, other than his essential Trumpness, is all accidental. Like any given position,
it does feel like he Mr. Magooed his way
any
here.
Given position that Donald Trump has, he could turn it around 100% tomorrow,
and does.
And his fans wouldn't care a bit. Like
I was gonna say it is his Donald Trumpness that actually is the issue, and that is his appeal, and it's never been about his issue.
Yeah, so like Trump happens to like whatever, he's in New York or what, he doesn't care, but like if he has to care, if he has to suddenly go, yeah, I don't like those gays, like he could say that and it would be all the same to his fans. So he is hopefully just this weird blip in the progress of American politics that currently we just have to go, anything we can think or say about the progress of American politics from the last 30 years to the next 30 years, it's just kind of on hold now. Like we just do not know.
We have
anything.
a cancer scare.
We got to flush this guy out of the system as soon as we can,
Yeah.
and then let's see where the country is
Let's
going.
come back to the table in 4 years and pick up where we left off, kind of thing.
All right. So, by the way, as we wrap this segment up, I just want to know, I did Google the words law, shoot your grandmother, and scrolled all the way down on images, and not a single porn in the bunch.
Sure you got the filter set right?
I don't know. I think there's no boobies, not even elderly boobies. So, given that...
the internet has changed.
I know.
This is not the internet of 5 years ago. 10 years ago.
So, hey, you're listening to the Army of Drunks Talking Funny podcast. Brouhaha. And we will be right back with Brian Doherty, senior editor of Reason Magazine, and a whole pile of gin. And remember... No, we got nothing. All right, we'll be right back.
We forgot.
Hey, me fella, look here. Seagulls, golden wine cooler, seagulls, golden wine cooler, it's wet and it's dry. Golden wine cooler, my, golden wine cooler, me and the boys, love all the time. Golden wine cooler, it's wet and it's dry. Golden wine cooler.
And we're back.
Holy shit, Jen.
Yeah, we are drinking Gimlets. I'm so drunk I almost said Gimlets, in which case I would have to stab my own neck. That's fucking bullshit.
Bartender, give me a gin giblet.
Giblet.
Kind of like how to make the gin go down easier.
It really
these are delicious.
Yeah,
Summery too. It's a summary way of getting hammered.
Yeah, because of the gin is generally it's such an overpowering liquor.
Yeah,
it's like the alternate universe version. What's the Superman
Bizarro?
Bizarro world? Thank you. It's
Bizarro
the bizarre
vodka?
It's Bizarro vodka.
Yeah, I gotta say though, I love gin. I'll drink it straight because I'm an asshole.
And you're white.
Yeah, I'm white. Because no. Snoop Dogg drinks gin.
Laid back.
But it's less intense than whiskey. It's just weird.
Yeah, I think
it's not what you're expecting.
It's got flowers and shit in it.
So anyway, Brian, in honor of libertarianism, we usually close up segment 3, one kind of game or another. And today we got a little game. I'm gonna read a quote from an author, and it's gonna be up to you guys to guess who this quote is from. Now, it's gonna be from one of 3 authors, either Ayn Rand.
So inherently you have a 33% chance.
Yeah, sure.
Of
Ayn Rand, Anne Rice, or Andy Rooney.
Okay.
So we are playing Rand, Rice, or Rooney.
Mm-hmm. Which, by the way,
it's the San Francisco treat.
The best. Yeah, I think it's, yeah.
Yep. And by the way, to level the playing field, I am going to read all of the quotes in my worst Andy Rooney impersonation that I can muster.
Yeah, and you have to start it with "Have you ever noticed?"
All right, here we go. Rand Rice-A-Rooney, and number 1. You ever notice I'm Gentleman Death in silken lace, come to put out the candles. The canker, Brian.
That would be Rice.
That's right. That's one for Brian. I don't know how you got that.
Well, I think.
Rand Rice-A-Rooney. Here we go. Have you ever noticed most of us believe everyone has a right to his own opinion as long as it agrees with ours? Buck.
Rooney.
Rooney is correct. Yes,
right.
Here we go. Have you seen how your best friends love everything about you except the things that count? Brian.
That's also Rooney.
No, that's Ayn Rand.
Oh, right.
Yep. Sorry. Yep. All right.
See, the game's it's cooler than you thought.
See?
Yeah, I know. Hey, I greased the rails early, but now it's getting hard. Okay.
Only 3 questions
That was
in.
so banal.
I know.
My
You
God.
ever notice elegance is really a kind of control? Oh, Brian.
I think that's Rice.
That is right.
Oh,
Yes.
that could have been. I was going to go with Rand on
Yep.
that one.
No. Brian's got 2. Buck's got 1. Here we go. You ever notice I don't like food that's too carefully arranged? Makes me think the chef is spending too much time arranging. Oh, yes, Matt.
Yeah, keep going. No, you're doing it well. That'd be Rooney. That'd be our pal Rooney.
If I wanted a picture, I'd buy a painting. Yes.
See,
Rooney, you got
I had
it.
to get on the
That's
board.
Rooney. Okay.
I know it was an easy one.
sorry,
You ever
drinking.
notice I could die for you, but I couldn't and wouldn't live for you? Buck.
Rand.
Yes. It's 2 to Brian, 2 to Buck, and 1 to Shaw. Okay, here we go. We're moving forward. Have you ever noticed strong women are absolutely unpredictable?
Yeah, that's boy. You really did your homework on this one.
Brian?
I'm going to go Rice.
Yes!
Wow. Totally guessed on that one.
Totally
didn't
and
you?
right.
Yeah, that could have gone anyway.
Hey, all right, here we go. Have you ever noticed the man who lies to the world is the world's slave from then on? There are no white lies. There's only the, yes, Brian.
That is Ayn Rand.
That is Ayn Rand. Yes, there are no white lies. There's only the blackest of destruction, and white lie is the blackest of all.
Chapter and verse, Atlas Shrugged, I believe.
Maybe. Have you ever noticed nothing in fine print is ever good news? Brian.
That's my man Andy.
Yes, it is. Brian's up to 5. All right, here we go. We're closing in here. Have you ever noticed each of us has within him a dark chamber where the real desire flowers? And the horror of it is that they never see the light of another's understanding. Oh, strange blooms. It is lonely, it is in the dark, in the chambers of the heart.
I'm going with Andy Rooney.
I want that to be Andy Rooney.
I want it to be Andy Rooney, too.
I want that to be. I
we
want
all
that to
just
be the episode of 60 Minutes where they don't even have the stopwatch. That's the one episode of 60 Minutes that just silence with the credits. Not even the tick, 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 tick.
That was when fucking Rooney went off the air. It was the last one. He just fucking emptied the chamber.
done.
You know, let's just all pretend that's Andy Rooney.
Yeah. That was when Andy Rooney literally emptied the clip and fucking dropped the mic.
Yep. All right, we're almost done.
Two in the chest, one in the head.
Yep, here we go. One of the most... Oh, God. All right. This is the last one. You ever notice the average dog is a nicer person than the average person? Brian?
Rooney.
Yes, that's Rooney. That's kind of a gimme. All right, and the final tally is Brian Doherty 6, Buck 2, Matt Shaw 1.
Do you really only have 2?
Yeah. Well, 3 if we give you the fake Rooney.
Okay, the fake Rooney. Yeah.
By the way, you haven't had the fake Rooney in a long time, are you?
By the way, what is the fake Rooney sex act?
We're going to save that for the next show.
Next
and the name
time.
of that sex act, what is the fake Rooney? Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Army of Drunks. Brian, thank you for this show. But you'll be back for show 2.
Sure.
Yeah. And by the way, here's the deal on your Patreon.
What's Patreon?
Yeah, we were
only?
gonna
Talk
circle
about
back around
the
on
Patreon
that
thing.
All right, so
Because that was a short
as we wrap this up, we have a Patreon page now because that way you don't have to sit through shitty ads.
Because that's
fake
how
ads.
bad it is now.
Well, here's the thing. Nobody wants to advertise around any show with the word drunk in the title. Is something I've come to realize from calling around. But do you ever notice how, you rub your penis for too long and the pain and the pleasure start to merge into one strange feeling that you're just as ashamed of as you are.
Ayn Rand.
Yes. Go to www.patreon.com/armyofdrunks. Here's how it is. You donate some money for every show. For $1 a show, you get your name on our little wall of fame. For $2 a show, you can donate and not get your name on the wall of fame. Now, for $3 a show...
I'd go with that one.
Yeah, I'm going to add this. You can donate and get someone else's name on the wall of fame.
Mike Pence.
Mike Pence. And it goes up from there. For $5, you start getting swag. It goes all the way up.
Yeah,
There's T-shirts, there's flasks. At $100 a show, we will, first of all, you have free access to the tiny audience. Come to any show you want. We will name a drink after you. Mixmaster Thurm will make a drink after you. And we will name a Name That Sex Act after you. Wow. We will not, however, enact it in front of you.
No one's going to do that.
That's for $5.
That's only for $5.
Yeah.
So you've been listening to the Army of Drunks Talking Funny podcast, brouhaha, and stick around next week when we come back with more Brian and our new show called Let's Talk About Feelings. And
that's my favorite.
Buck, anything you want to plug here?
I'm going to Europe.
Good for you, Matt. Anything you want to plug here?
I'm going to Europe too.
Yeah, Matt's going to go there with me. Yeah, other than that, it's the usual standing gig with Matt at the Chuckle Bunker.
Yeah. Matt, you're going to play the Giggle Pit next month too, aren't you? Yeah. And Jeff's Laugh Shack. Are you at Jeff's Laugh Shack?
We're still working that out.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm still writing the Invader Zim comics, and Brian, you still have a whole bunch of books people should look up on Amazon.
Brian with an I, Doherty like Shannon Doherty on Amazon. You will find my 4 books.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Army Drunks Talking Funny podcast, and as always,
from hell's heart,
we stab at thee.
Good night.
This has been another Army of Drunks Talking Funny podcast experience. Remember, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/armyofdrunks. Check out our website for show notes. That's armyofdrunks.net. Look for us on Facebook and the usual brouhaha. And remember, the Army of Drunks is copyright 2017 by the Army of Drunks. Weird.